A very good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with Mike Lubitz. Happy to have you with us here on NoFilter.net, Caffeine TV. Already, though, somewhat unplugged. Mike Lubitz. I don't know when it hits you, but the holiday mode is kicked in almost full bore with me. And for a sports fan, it's been the ultimate in euphoria, as you could not have enough exciting activity taking place in a single week, especially during the week. Where last night here in South Florida, where we originate from, you could have been on three consecutive channels and caught what was the marquee matchup of the NFL season so far. Although, what was it a little deflating? What transpired in this ball game? The weather. I don't want to use the obvious pun and cliche there that they put a damper on things right away with the weather. You were hoping that sparks would be flying, were you not? In that
Yes.
Philadelphia Kansas City Chiefs game. Certainly the networks were counting on it. It was on ESPN. It was on ABC. It was on NFL Network. It was on DAZN. It was even being aired in Russian, and I think it was being aired throughout the Ukraine. I mean, everybody was fascinated and riveted to this particular ball game, thinking we were going to get the same kind of result that we did in the Super Bowl. Actually, we did, Luby, in terms of the way the game was contested, except it happened in reverse where in the Super Bowl, it seemed like Philadelphia was a dominant team. They ended up on the losing end, much to the dismay of the people that I've mentioned a few times when I was in Atlantic City, which is a Philadelphia Eagles stronghold. I mean, people have cheese whiz coming out of their mouth as they are cheering on plays. And it looked like the Eagles were in full control of that game and dominated the game for the most part. You would have had to thought that if they were just scoring it like a boxing match, it would have been a unanimous decision. Philadelphia. They end up losing, which was good for me. I was the one guy in there just sheepishly in the back of the room going, yeah, as these big, fat, fucking Philadelphia fans were all over themselves with grief, thinking, hey, how can we lose this thing? And you're up there, you're the lone guy at the window collecting in the sports book. It was a really good feeling. But last night, it was just a reverse, was it not? I mean, you watched this game primarily. There was other action that I was involved in also. With here in South Florida, you had the Miami Heat playing, and they were trying to bounce back from an ugly loss where they were up 22-1 to the Chicago Bulls on Saturday night. Ended up losing the game, falling apart completely at the seams in the fourth quarter, which unfortunately has been a characteristic. Very unusual to see an Eric Spoelstra coach team. Many people feel now, are you among them, Louie, that feel that Eric Spoelstra is the modern day Red Auerbach, that he's the best coach in the NBA at this time?
Well, right now, yeah. I mean, Popovich is sort of ready to hang it up. I know he'll hang on with Wemby there, but he's not the same guy. Kerr is a really good coach, but people wonder how much they were just freaking loaded, and he was the right guy for that group. But can he do it again? Because that's the thing with Spoelstra is he's done it with a lot of groups, with a lot of different levels of talent, and they always win at a very similar level. Like no matter what's going on, they're always competitive and a contender in some form. And that's not the case for Golden State. And Kerr's only done it with one group. So yeah, Spoelstra's the best coach in the NBA, and I don't think there's a guy close to him right now.
Well, and a lot of people don't necessarily. I guess Jimmy Butler made a big name for himself and got a lot of recognition for his hot start to the playoffs last year. But is Jimmy Butler a superstar that you would put in the top 10 of NBA stars?
I mean, he's
Is
top
he?
10. I wouldn't put him top three. Like he's not Steph. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not. I mean, I guess LeBron and Durant are old now. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, I guess he's not Jokic. He's not Luka. He's not Steph
Is he
still.
Jason Tatum?
Yes, to me, he's right around there. That's I would put him top 10. He's not top three to top five. And that's the thing.
Okay. The point being that Spoelstra manages to do this year in and year out
Yes.
with the so-called heat culture,
Yes.
which nobody could really define, but I think you can see where it is taken hold when you see a player like Duncan Robinson, who was given up for dead. I mean, this guy had to be when the Heat were considering getting Damian Lillard, and no matter what team they contacted, whether it was going to be a two-way deal with Portland, a three-way deal with some other team, a four-way deal, everybody probably was being offered Duncan Robinson, who was a DNP coach's decision most of last year and has a big contract, a big fat contract for a player of that caliber. So you would have to think that the Heat were desperate to unload him. They don't. He comes back on the roster as no deal for Lillard was made. And somehow Spoelstra, after losing a couple of key players, key components to last year's team, resurrects Duncan Robinson from the dead, and he becomes one of their better players. I mean, that to me is something that you can attribute to a good coaching and a good organization. We don't see that across the board
No,
in
no.
the world of sports, certainly. If you look at Kansas City now, Andy Reid, this was an interesting thing in that game last night. Andy Reid was 7-0 as a coach in the Philadelphia Kansas City matchup. 4-0 with the Philadelphia Eagles against Kansas City when he coached the Eagles. 3-0 with the Kansas City Chiefs going into last night when he was coaching in Kansas City. So you would take a look at that angle and think, okay, the fat man's going to prevail here. But and by all rights, he should have. The Kansas City Chiefs in that game, how many drop passes? 5 drops in the game, 26
Oh
for the
wow,
season.
5.
Did anybody in the news, is the paparazzi following this? Has it come out on social media that Taylor Swift, right before the game, sent a text to Travis Kelce and says, "It's over, Johnny. It's over." As if he was John Rambo
He played like it.
coming back and trying this crusade in America to fight off the Seattle cops, Brian Dennehy and company, who, one of the more absurd concepts I've ever seen for a movie. For some reason, they're airing endless runs of various Rambo movies on Showtime lately, and I can't avoid it. And I keep watching and asking myself, that's one of those movies you watch and say, why am I watching this? What is this garbage? How did Stallone make so much money with a flawed concept like this? Now, the original, I guess, was cool because it had a lot of action in it. But then after that, it kind of delved into the area of the absurd. And maybe that's why it was on yesterday because did you follow this? It was National Absurdity Day yesterday.
Okay. No.
There you go. That's why they had Rambo First Blood, Rambo First Blood 2, Rambo Second Blood, Rambo Drained of Blood, Keith Richards First Blood. Imagine what that looks like. That looks like something that you would have gotten out of a Chevy Vega back in the day, where the oil is all coagulated right around the cap there, and you're thinking, may as well just let this car have the engine seized. It'll be over. But the engine seized for the excitement, the explosiveness of the Kansas City Chiefs,
Yeah.
as they've been shut out now 3 straight games in the second half. 3 straight games without scoring a point in the second half. I believe that is a stat that I saw flash up there, including last night when they were stuck on 17. They're up 17-7, have the game well in hand, can't do anything on 6 possessions in the second half. And what they did do was more along the lines of being horrified than it was thinking that, wow, this is one of the best teams in the league. Mahomes puts the ball right in there in the hands of Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yes.
That sounds like a law firm, a personal injury firm,
He's
doesn't
from
it?
the law firm. He was on the Packers. He was with Rodgers. They would call him the law firm.
Yeah, injured in an accident. Marquez Valdez Scantling can take care of that. In fact, they can get you millions of dollars even if you only broke a toe. They'll imply that you were going to be the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, and all of a sudden you had to leave millions on the table there because you had this car accident, stub your toe. He has a bomb right in his hands at the 150 mark of the fourth quarter. That's going to give Kansas City the lead, and he drops it. This was subsequent to Travis Kelce. That's why I'm thinking something had to be up with Taylor Swift, no? That could be the only reason for Kelce to have been as bad as he was in his ball game. He had a couple of drops, key drops, and then the fumble inside the 10-yard line when it looked like Kansas City was going to seize complete command of the game. And the Kansas City Chiefs just they don't look as superior as they have in the past. And even though Mahomes was playing well, he missed a couple of passes. He does drill a ball right into the hands of one of his receivers on a 4th and 25 that would have gotten the first down. And tell me how deflating that would have been for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, Tom, you want to take the air out of the balls here? I can hear Andrew Luck screaming in the background there. I can't throw this piece of shit. What are you talking about? Was Luck the one that was pissed? Who noticed that those balls had no air in them? When
he was a defensive player that caught an interception or something. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with this football?
Remember when you used to have to play with a ball like that?
Yes.
Something happened. Somebody had the pin would get stuck in the ball and the air would be slowly leaking out and you just continue to play with it. I guess that's where Brady got the concept from. Hey, look at that. It's pretty easy to catch this thing. Looked like my gallbladder by the time he finished throwing it. But that was an entertaining game, if not the highest scoring and most explosive game. Great pass by Jalen Hurts to get the winning score there. As Devontae Smith, I thought he was going to be a good pro, and he's distinguished himself pretty well. A lot better than Devontae Parker did when he was with the Miami Dolphins. So the Eagles, you would have to concede, I guess, are the best team in football right now at 9-1. Tom
Yeah.
Brady's complaining that the league is so watered down now. You said, Michael, that was just due to the fact that the quarterback play is so subpar.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through a transition. Had a bunch of really great older guys: Breeze, Manning, Brady, Rogers, um, and that group of guys, Philip Rivers, Matt Ryan. There was just you had like 8 to 10 really good to great quarterbacks, and they aged out. So you have the young guys are coming into their own, and so you go through a dearth of quarterbacks, and that's what we're in right now. And the offensive line play again, like Jason Cole talked with us yesterday on our Tony Bruno experience. Uh, the offensive line play is not what it used to be. Colleges are not coaching offensive linemen the way they used to. So there's a lack of talent, not even talent, a lack of understanding of how to play offensive line in the NFL. So every team has an offensive line issue. There's like 3 teams that have good offensive lines, and everyone else is like you're week to week.
Philadelphia would be considered one of them. That's
Great.
a certainty. How do you feel, again, it came up and reared its ugly head or its ugly ass, the tush push,
I hate it.
the brotherly shove. Are you a fan of that or not?
I hate it. I get it's legal and that's fine right now. Again, it's a play that I felt was illegal because anytime that people would push a dude, they would call it dead.
Yes.
That meant forward progress had stopped. If you need help from someone else, you obviously have stopped your own momentum. So I don't understand the legality of it. And I'm still waiting for someone to get hurt. Like I get it. They do it in a way that no one gets hurt. I think that's a load of garbage. It's a bunch of dudes pushing each other. Like
how does Jalen Hurts at the bottom of that pile end up with a broken neck?
I don't know. Supposedly he's in a cocoon, or I don't know. I think it's a load of garbage. I think eventually he's going to get hurt.
Is he even in the pile? Is that one of those things like clowns coming out of a Volkswagen where, you're thinking, where did all these people come from? Where is he? I don't know. Does he even take the snap? Is it a fumble Ruski? What the hell are they doing there? How is that working play after play? That they have failed on it, I think, 2 times out of 50.
No, they said they were 52 or 57 after they did like 3 times last night.
Incredible.
I hate
you have a 4th and 1 and a 3rd and 1 play that works 52 out of 57 times.
Yes, 90%, 85%.
And the league hasn't caught up with it. Now, the league caught up with the Wildcat. That only worked for a short period of time. Do you see anybody really executing the Wildcat very often anymore?
No.
Remember when Belichick was zamboozled by it? The Dolphins were playing the New England Patriots when this first surfaced. And they had no chance to beat the Patriots and no talent. And they started running the Wildcat with Ronnie Brown, a running back out of Auburn called Ronnie Brown. That, wow, you talk about a huge mistake that sets a franchise back 20 years. They took Ronnie Brown, number 2, after Alex Smith was drafted. And sitting there at like number 25 or whatever he was Aaron Rodgers. How different would that have been for the course of National Football League play in Miami if they had gone ahead and taken Rodgers, or any of the other teams for that matter. But Ronnie Brown had a relatively undistinguished career. In fact, probably the only thing he's known for is the Wildcat.
Yes.
And then he would throw the occasional option pass left-handed.
Yes.
And have some success with that. But they caught on quickly. I mean, Belichick was zamboozled by the Wildcat the first time they used it, and a couple of other teams started to employ it. And then without the same kind of success, and then eventually you never see it anymore. Is that the fate of the brotherly shove?
I think they're making it illegal. I just think I think it's against what football is. It's stupid. I hate the fucking play.
Yeah, it really does look stupid, doesn't it?
I think it's dumb. I think it slows the game down. I think it's ridiculous.
It's like something in the schoolyard you would see.
I think the minute Jalen Hurts gets hurt, all of a sudden Sirianni will be like, oh, shit. Maybe this.
And he doesn't care either. I mean, he'll have a 4th and 1 from his own 5 early in the ball game and go ahead. He has so much confidence in this thing working. But anyway, it took a terrific pass there from Jalen Hurts late in the ball game to Devontae Smith. He makes a good catch. And unfortunately for Patrick Mahomes, he lays one right in the hands. Is that going to affect his quarterback rating? It shows you can't quantify this sort of thing. He gets credited with an incompletion, which is a negative number on his quarterback rating, when instead he should have had a 55-yard game-winning touchdown pass. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling let lay on the ground. Kelsey was talking about retirement all of a sudden. Is that just some speculation on the part of a reporter? When somebody said, hey, are you thinking about retiring, Travis? And he said, yeah, maybe 5-6 years from now.
Yeah, exactly.
And the headline just reads, hey, Kelsey talking about mulling over retirement.
I mean, he's in his mid-30s, maybe. I'm sure once you get to that point in the NFL and you made a crap load of money, you're like, yeah, I don't have to do this. But again, they're winning. Like, where's he going? I don't know. We'll see.
See, I think, when negative stuff happened in my life, from an emotional standpoint, a breakup or whatever, I always found that somewhat inspiring. Maybe that tells you about the status of my relationships. That would be the only thing I could attribute. And I think he's even losing his soup commercials now after those drops last night. We still are waiting for the Kelseys. Enough already with the Kelseys. I know they're both very talented and they're top-notch players. They seem like really good guys. But it's only a matter of time before both of them are involved in a feminine douche spray campaign on TV in terms of advertising. There is nothing that they aren't selling. Are they selling Bitcoin also? No, that was Brady. And I think they even had Sammy Sosa in some of those commercials, but nobody could recognize him anymore. All right, we're getting ready for a big week. You got the Thursday games. I still have dread and reservations about watching the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. And that goes all the way back to my time growing up as a kid in the mid 60s, when the Lions would lose like every week or every year. They would lose on Thanksgiving Day by a wide margin to crummy teams and have the most boring efforts that you would ever see. Running the football for 2 yards a pop. This wasn't Barry Sanders. They had Lem Barney on their team back in that time, but I remember thinking, this is a good time to ask my athletic uncle if he'd like to go out and have a catch with a football and get ready for Thanksgiving dinner that way. But now it's a viable means of getting yourself psyched up to big pork out on a big meal, as the Lions will lead off the Thursday lineup against the Packers, Cowboys and the Commanders, 49ers and the Seahawks. Just enough to divert you from talking politics while you're at the dinner table. Hey, can we watch the game while we're eating? That'll be great. So looking very much forward to that. Going to be a terrific week all the way around in terms of sporting activity. We'll be with you again tomorrow on the morning briefing and then take a couple of days off. So for Mike Lubie Lubitz, hope everybody's having a great holiday season so far. Getting in the mood already. Most people have checked out by now. And by tomorrow, nothing gets done. Nothing. People are running the stores for last minute things. What do you mean you forgot the onions? How can I make the stuffing? And you're in there, and the lines are like a mile long. You feel like you're entering a ball game going through the security check. So everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time. I'm Jeff DeForest for Mike Lubie Lubitz. Thanks for tuning in to today's edition of the Morning Briefing on NoFilter.net.